Welcome to this podcast sponsored by CRScube in collaboration with Koneksa. My name is Sylvain Berthelot. I'm the VP of Strategy and Marketing at CRScube. And today I'll be sharing the floor with Juan Munoz-Pujol, Chief Strategy and Development Officer at CRScube, and Mike Mendoza, Senior VP of Biometrics and Data Science at Koneksa. Now, the backstory actually is that we've all been working together for over 10 years, but it's the first time we share the floor like this. So I'm quite excited about it. And I'm also excited about today's topic as we're going to talk about the practical impact of AI on clinical data management and what is required to adapt to the new AI functionalities that are available to us. So starting with a question for you, Mike. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussions for now many years about AI and how it has the potential to reshape clinical trials. But based on your experience and what you see today in the industry, is there anything that feels meaningfully different about AI?
Yeah, thanks, Sylvain. Really today, what feels different is that the innovation doesn't really happen in silos anymore. You see organizations coming together more and more to figure out how to tackle the challenges of today's clinical trial. And you see a tighter alignment from the development cycles of technology to handle really this large data space that's coming into play with technology innovation for how data is interpreted today, passive collection with analog data, and really needing tools to review and continuously interpret that data to get early signal detection. And that's really kind of a different space and feel that we have in the industry today that's different from even 2 years ago and what needs to be done to solve today's challenges.
Interesting. You've already talked about data, and that's going to be a theme of what we're going to discuss today. I've got a question for you, Joanna, on that topic. Where do you see AI having like the biggest impact as trials become more data rich?
Yeah, Mike and I has discussed about this. Is we see that there's not a single area where AI has the biggest impact. In fact, what we're seeing is a series of meaningful improvements across the entire life cycle. And when it becomes very powerful is when these improvements connect, they combine. For example, as trials become more data rich, as Mike's saying, AI will help us to move from just collecting the data to actually interpreting the data near real time, like trying to focus on patterns, highlighting risk, and supporting what at the end is all about, those better decisions in the way that we run the clinical trials. What we're doing at CRScube is about helping teams look at the data more holistically with the AI support.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you've both mentioned like the things are not siloed anymore, which is good to hear because that's been a massive challenge in our industry. But at the same time, so I'll address this one to Mike. We've got more digital endpoints, we've got new ways of capturing data, and we're saying trials are more data rich, but with the amount of data, are we now at a point where we need AI to be able to analyze all this data that we're acquiring?
Really, it's become a critical component today because you really have to enable yourself to be able to deliver and capture richer data. And where that becomes important is, really not breaking operations. You really need to have the ability to really mine and navigate that data collection to do modeling and interpretation in a live stream and, to be able to make decisions quickly. And really, because of that, AI does become an integral part of daily life as you're really trying to manage that large component of data that's in today's modern day protocols. And with that, technology becomes a necessity to be able to maneuver that quickly. Um, and one of the important things, we at Koneksa deal with the digital measures and passive collective instruments. But, another area that's impacted is really like EDC, and be able to quickly, not only set up your studies, but have it be able to integrate with that data and having the ability to navigate, what a protocol requirement is and really apply it to the build out of a study within an EDC. Now, I know CRScube is leveraging AI to, build the EDC system, automatically. Um, and I know being partners, it's an exciting part, as we're looking in to be the first to test, the CRScube 3 system where it's going to be AI driven in that build approach and to really navigate, how this can help us, not only build studies faster, but really get the data to integrate with each other from multiple areas and platforms and do it with a lighter lift than traditional past methods where there's a lot of integral programming, a lot of manpower required to really get that data flowing from platform to platform. So this is kind of really the excited time to see where AI is, and especially how CRScube's implementing it, and we at Koneksa are going to be able to leverage it.
We're excited about that as well. It's great to see the enthusiasm from you, obviously, Mike, but also from the industry. It's been very encouraging. And it's interesting because, Joanne, you started by saying that it's not just one big thing that's going to be beneficial from AI, but it's small process updates or improvements. So now we've talked about data analysis, and Mike just mentioned what it looks like in EDC setup as well. Could you tell us a bit more about what that looks like, AI in EDC setup?
Yeah, no, Mike is right. We love working with Mike and the Koneksa team. It's great to combine the way that they think about the data beyond. Mike always talks about analogs and digital, beyond the way they collect the data, but in more holistic way. But part of that, as Mike said, is that the EDC setup. So traditionally, the EDC setup takes weeks. A lot of manual configuration, a lot of back and forth. What we're doing now is developing an AI tool that enable our clients to go from protocol to working in the EDC setup in minutes. Huge transformation. This will change the role of the data management team, moving from a more manual configuration and moving the role towards a more quality review, more an oversight role, where they focus on the quality and the decision making between that transition from the protocol to the EDC. It will change the way that our clients think about the study setup when it becomes a more dynamic, more iterative instead of a long setup. We're already starting to see some interesting improvements with the real setup, which is where it gets really interesting. And Mike always says, we're moving away for the traditional AI productivity tool into a true process transformation, where it goes away to small things into a holistic way of seeing how AI is going to affect the way that we build and we manage studies.
But I imagine that that's then tricky because it has an impact on processes. So, Mike, from your point of view, then, what does it take to successfully implement these new tools, considering that you have to think about it from a process point of view? It's not just implementing technology.
Yeah, so that is a really important question, right? So really what you have to have in place is kind of having the embedded expertise, because it's not only about the system fluency, but it's really kind of the change management structure that, really streamlines how new technology or just new functionality is implemented. And that starts with kind of how, onboarding of a product, the training and execution, but having the team behind it that can answer the questions and help navigate, the web of regulatory requirements that get impacted. And really that is where a functional team, not only, from a sponsor to, a technology vendor, but really, again, going back to we're not operating in silos anymore. It can't be reliant on one piece of the puzzle, delivering it all. It's about the collaborations, the directiveness, the openness to, being willing to adapt to the changes and embracing, the expertise surrounding you within this technology to help you navigate the implementation of the product, right? And really for us and in our collaboration over those 10 years, that's where it's always been. We're all experts in our domains, and it really becomes the availability to work, openly, candidly, and leaning on the expertise from, the technology in itself, from, the processes, what's necessary, especially when it comes to AI, you know, in navigating risk is where does human in the loop become a necessity versus what can, you lean back and let AI do for you. But whenever it comes back to the human in the loop in those processes, it goes back to the expertise, right? Making sure that you have the highest level of um, domain expertise that's making those decisions, because that's the key component of AI. Is that's what makes it learn, that's what trains it, and having partners that you believe in and having that faith in guiding the right direction is an extremely important part of any relationship. And that's always been the case. Without AI, it's been the pinnacle part of a vendor to a sponsor to a CRO partnership. But with AI, it just becomes a little bit more important. And really, that's what it's about in establishing and getting these things implemented quickly.
I find what you just said very encouraging, Mike, because when I think about a year ago, everyone was wondering, will I lose my job with AI? But what you're saying is the opposite, actually. You're putting the emphasis on needing experts to successfully implement AI and to successfully work with AI. So it's good, and I feel like the industry has moved, our mindset has already moved, and I feel like we're closer to being able to implement AI successfully and doing it efficiently. Now, you've talked about human in the loop, but I'm going to challenge that with Joanne a bit. Do you think, based on what you're seeing at CRScube, Joanne, do you think that there's a future where AI makes decisions by itself?
Oh, Sylvain, this is a great question. And honestly, it's hard to predict seeing how fast AI is evolving. Mike touched just a second ago about implementation and adoption and expertise. And I think that today AI can identify issues, detect anomalies, suggest actions, and like generating queries automatically. But when it comes to like fully autonomous decision, I don't think we're there yet. I think it's mostly from a trust and the governance perspective. I think clinical trials, the confidence and accountability are absolutely critical to make the clinical trial work, and regulations will need to evolve alongside this to make sure that AI is able to continue to work on this, because AI is not a trend; it's a reality. It's happening, and it's going to continue happening. So I see this more of a gradual journey. You build the trust step by step rather than jumping straight away from now to fully automation.
And if I can add really quick, Sylvain, sorry. With that, I just wanted to give an analogy when we talk about, AI and what it could do, and someday, where will we find our position in? And, I look at it, even if AI becomes as human-like as possible, the one thing that's always existed in our framework as humans is the reliance on mentors, whether it's your parent, whether you're a professor who has tenure, you're still looking upward and onward and colleagues for advice and expertise. And, when we look at in clinical trials, what we do today, it's always a consortium of physicians, in the trials. It's not the one we're all trying to accomplish the same. And so there's always that leverage of the industry of the knowledge share and in how we make and approach our decision making process, right? It's really never made in a bubble. And I think that's really, as we navigate all of this together, that we kind of have to remember, that's the importance. AI, I don't want to say overly futuristic, but AI could be human like. But with the same rails that we all operate, you still have to rely and seek, expertise for conformational practices.
Yeah. It's about making AI smarter. It's about making AI smarter in that sense, using humans to use AI smarter.
Well, talking about smarter, and that will be my last question for you, Mike. Do you think we're getting closer to truly smarter trials, or is it more faster trials?
Let me answer that two different ways, because we are getting to faster trials for sure. Because what we're able to see with AI as implemented today and where it can impact some of the things we're doing, we're definitely starting up faster, and we're able to do some of the cleaning activities and things throughout the course of the trial that are becoming more fluid with those tools at our hands. So it's definitely becoming faster. As far as becoming smarter, let me frame this is that yes, it's becoming smarter because we're adding more data into the mix to give us better answers or stronger clarity. But as that's becoming newer capability and newer technology into study design today, I do think that learning curve's still there for everybody to understand what is the value of having, all of this data at our hands. And even as we apply AI to it, it's a natural learning curve, so I caution to say, yes, trials are getting smarter, but it's the data that we're analyzing and measuring. That learning curve is currently, I believe, in place, but it's definitely taking us the right direction to, really get a better view of disease states and clarity into what unknown signals that have always been there that we're now able to start detecting that can drive smarter decisions forward, which end to end, removing from a trial by trial basis of speeding, I do believe it's leading to a smarter design concept to get a drug from phase 1 to market in helping patients faster in that capacity. So that's where, I can kind of lean on. The trials are getting smarter.
Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you very much. It's been extremely interesting. Thank you for our audience for listening to us as well. It's been a pleasure to host this podcast sponsored by CRScube in collaboration with Koneksa. Thank you to my guests, Joanne and Mike, and we wish you all a very nice day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.